Okay, guys, I think this is going to be one of the most important videos that I've ever shared in my life. I've been studying eschatology for over 48 years. That's the study of the last days and the end times, of which I believe we're living in this divinely appointed season. I'm going to show you a video here shortly done by Common Sense Crypto. A man by the name of Rich heads up this channel. I've learned a lot from him over the last 6 months. Just some phenomenal things that are going on the earth today that I would like to share with you. Briefly, I'm going to cover with you my personal experience, and then I'm going to play a video from Rich that I just watched yesterday that I believe is mind-boggling about where we are on God's prophetic timeline and how that can affect you physically, spiritually, and also financially. My journey started on this process back in April of 2025. Approximately 6 months ago. God was dealing with me about this season that we're living in. I think it's very important for you to understand that I've been an avid studier of the Bible for 48 years, studying eschatology for 45 of those years. And I believe we're the last generation. Now, why would I think that? And how long is a generation? And when do you start counting and all that? Well, the Bible says in Matthew chapter 24, the disciples came to Jesus and they said, "Tell us, Lord, what will be the sign of thy coming, thy return back to the earth, and the end of the age?" And Jesus told them in Matthew 24, he gave them a detailed timeline of the events that are going to happen in the last generation. Well, when does the final generation or the last generation begin? At the end of that chapter, Matthew 24, Jesus says that from the time that the fig tree puts forth her leaves, this generation shall not pass. Well, your question should be is how long is a generation and who is a fig tree? Who is the fig tree? Well, Israel is the fig tree according to the Bible, just like the United States is the great eagle, just like Russia is the bear, Great Britain is the lion, and so on. So here we have the fig tree Israel putting forth her leaves in 1948. See, guys, there was 1,878 years that expired off God's timeline where there was no Israel. Then all of a sudden, Israel was born in a day. That nation was born in a day in 1948. Psalms 90, verse 10, says a generation, it's a man is given 70 years plus 10. That's the lifespan of a human being right now. And we're the last generation. So you would take that 70 years plus 10 and place that in from the time that Israel became a nation. That would bring you exactly to 2017, 2018, the year that Donald Trump came on the scene. I believe that when Israel became a nation, that is when God began to count the last generation. And I believe the final 10 years of that generation began in 2020. Began in 2017, 2018, and it's going to take us to 2028 to 2030, depending on your timeline and your calendar. And this is where the Agenda 2030 has come about, the Rockefeller playbook, the Operation Lockstep, and all the things that are happening. My journey in this started 6 months ago, as I said, when I met a man that I'd never met before. I went into a restaurant. He came out of the restaurant and saw my Jesus bumper, my license plate. And he said, "Hey," and he starts talking to me. He goes, "Hey, do you know crypto?" I was like, "Who is that?" I thought crypto was a person or something. I didn't even know what crypto was. I mean, I had heard of Bitcoin, but I didn't know what crypto was. And he's like, "You need to look at this, and you need to look at Bitcoin, and you need to look at XRP, and you need to look at HBAR, and you need to look about this and that and this and that." Well, I left, and I knew the guy was a Christian, and I started thinking, maybe there was something to that. A couple months later, I run into the same guy. "Hey, did you look up crypto yet?" I'm like, "Who's that?" So anyway, the story goes, I ran into this guy 3 times, and he kept telling me about crypto, telling me about Bitcoin, telling me about XRP, telling me about all this stuff. His name was Ken, and his wife's name is Pam. So this goes on 3 times, God's number, perfect number of completion. Then I get a phone call at 10 o'clock at night from another guy that I had not talked to in years. His name is Ken. His name is Keith. I'm sorry. His name is Keith, and his wife's name is Pam. So you have Keith and Pam and Ken and Pam, 2 different couples telling me the same thing. Keith calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, Pastor Ron, did you hear about crypto? Do you know about Bitcoin? Do you know about XRP? Do you know about the market of beast? Do you know about Oracle? All these things happening." I'm like, "What? Do you know? Do you know Ken and Pam?" "No, I never met Ken and Pam." I asked Ken and Pam, "Do you know Keith and Pam?" "No, I don't know Keith and Pam." So all this goes on, and God's really dealing with me. And then all of a sudden, I meet a guy for breakfast at 6:30 in the morning. His name's Carol Uphold. So Carol Uphold starts asking me all these questions about the Oracle. I thought, the Oracle. I knew Oracle was a company on the earth, one of the top trading companies in the world, Oracle. Well, I'm there researching it, and all of a sudden, boom, Donald Trump comes on the television, and he says Oracle with these other companies have just donated $500 billion to a project called Stargate, where through artificial intelligence and your DNA, that they can track and trace every single human being on this earth. And they said, "Hey, this is for a good thing. This is because we're going to cure cancer. Or if there's a cure for cancer, this is how it could happen, blah, blah, blah." Well, all these things start out very good, and everything looks good, and everything is good at the beginning. It's just like when the credit cards come out. Oh, that was the mark of the beast. I mean, all them years ago when credit cards come out, that's the mark of the beast. Well, look how far we've went, and it's still officially not the mark of the beast. It might be a part of it, or it might have something to play in it, but it's not. Just like when you went from having to, a person would come out and pump your gas. Now we have all these where it's self-serve. You go in and do gas. Then you got Sheets and GetGo and all these places where they're a mini shopping mart, and all these things are progressing. Why? Because prophecy is progressive. It continually advances until that appointed time when it manifests itself on the earth, and I believe we're close to that. So I start studying Oracle. Well, Oracle, it means a declaration by a representation of heaven or hell. In other words, somebody speaking, God speaking, or somebody speaking as God or as a God. So it could be Satan speaking through a person, or the Holy Spirit speaking through a person, but making a declaration that would be worldwide, a worldwide declaration, in my point of view, prophetically, that would help, hurt, or hinder us to buy or sell. Okay, so here's where we are. Then, after I go through all this research, all these studies, and I keep looking in this, then I have another friend that got a job at Walmart. And he said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this." He said, "They are changing everything in Walmart to digital. Everything's going digital." Well, I'm thinking, well, that shouldn't be a surprise, because once I start watching Donald Trump and all these things that's going on, he said we're going to be the digital or the crypto capital of the world. The United States are going to be the crypto capital of the world. And I'm thinking, wow, this stuff is really taken off. Well, I know Donald Trump right now has a four-year term, which he might want another 4 years, and who knows how that's going to go. But out of that 4-year term, you have a midterm vote. So in my mind, I'm thinking a whole lot of shaking got to happen before Donald Trump's second year, when the midterm votes come in, okay, which can hurt, harm, or hinder the way this thing progresses. So we have the European nations over there trying to speed up their process in central bank digital currencies, and we have Donald Trump over here establishing cryptocurrency coins that way, and just the Bitcoin reserve, the Federal Reserve of Bitcoin. So we're like staying apart from them right now. And even if it could be implemented that you couldn't buy or sell, I think it's going to come into the European system first and then ours. That's if they don't merge together. But I'm still telling you, prophetically, God has called me to warn the people prophetically where we are. So I have a very good video that I would like to share with you right now regarding this situation and regarding the buying and selling and all that, how all this takes place. And once again, this is from Rich, and he has a station on YouTube called Common Sense Crypto. Common Sense Crypto. I really encourage you to go to that site and check this guy out. He really knows what he's talking about. But I want to share this video with you right now. So please listen up. Let's see.
Channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And this video is going to be a little bit different. I warn you now. So BlackRock's Fink appointed as interim co-chairman of the World Economic Forum. If that surprises you, you haven't been paying attention. Larry Fink has always had strong ties to the World Economic Forum because, in my opinion, BlackRock is an elite company, like an elite shell company that was set up years ago. But look who else has ties to the World Economic Forum. Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, has been an active participant in World Economic Forum events, contributing to discussions on the future of digital finance. His involvement signifies a bridge between traditional financial systems and emerging digital economies, reflecting a shared vision. But Brad also sits at the board of directors. But look who else Brad has ties to. He has ties to Ancestry.com. Blackstone acquired Ancestry.com for $4.7 billion, giving the investment firm total ownership of all DNA from every person who's ever used the service. Now that's Blackstone, right? Blackstone financed the founding of BlackRock. Even BlackRock's name is a homage to Blackstone. BlackRock is the largest shareholder in Blackstone. Probably a coincidence, isn't it? Now, what are they trying to bring to the XRP ledger? DNA. And this has a lot of people now talking about this. The prophecy is unfolding. Revelation 13 and the XRP ledger. 2,000 years ago, the book of Revelation warned of a system where no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark. Today, that prophecy isn't an allegory. It's becoming financial architecture. The rails are blockchain. The weapon is identity. The battlefield is the XRP ledger. Now, Pompeius has a very good ending to this, and I'll share all of it with you. Revelation 13, 16 to 17 described a universal identification for commerce system, rich or poor, slave or free, no escape. Fast forward, digital ID, CBDCs, and biometric tracking. The prophecy has evolved into tech, fingerprints, retinal scans, and now genomics. Why the XRP ledger? Because it's the only blockchain with the institutional grade speed, scalability, and neutrality to host such a global system. Ripple built corridors worldwide where the rest of crypto was distracted with meme coins. Enter DNA on chain. DNA Protocol is onboarding medical labs and coding genomic identity onto XRP Ledger and issuing XDNA. that link your biological source code to the ledger. The prophecy said forehead or hand. Today, it's your DNA. Look deeper. BlackRock's ETF ticker, XDNA, was no accident. The elites are marking their blueprint, a corporate ETF in TradFi, mirrored by a genomic anchoring protocol on the XRP ledger. The mark is not a stamp, it's your biological identity anchored to the rails that they control. The prophecy warns no one can buy or sell. Translate: without genomic linked ID, you'll be excluded from the tokenized financial system. Imagine being unable to transact because your DNA protocol isn't anchored on chain. The rails are XRP, the passport is XDNA. But here's the duality: what looks like enslavement can also be liberation. XRP Ledger is neutral. If controlled by elites, it's the mark. If reclaimed by the people, it's the sword that cuts the beast grip, turning surveillance into transparency and accountability. The book of Revelation wasn't a warning of inevitability, it was intel from the future. We're watching prophecy, finance, and genomics merge. The mark is being coded right now. Question is, will you be enslaved by it or will you front run it? I like the idea that there's two outcomes to this. You know, a lot of people always said it's going to happen because it was in the Bible. And I would agree with that. But can we change the future? I also believe that the chip in the hand, I think they did away with that. I don't think that's going to be a thing anymore. I think that's why they're shifting towards DNA now. And this has a lot to do with digital ID, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So, DNA protocol, this is on the XRP ledger, and this is what it breaks down right here. But I think this is more tied to this digital ID. They will manipulate the sales pitch to the public for your own good or for your safety or for your convenience. But actually, it's for their control, surveillance, and greed. What are they trying to tie to your digital ID? Your work history, your health history, travel, telecommunications. They're going to keep track of everything you do online as well. And digital ID is something that BlackRock has been pushing for a long period of time. But Brad Garlinghouse has talked about digital ID multiple times in the past as well. And here's Brad talking about identity.
Who owns your identity?
Yeah, it's not me, unfortunately.
It's not you. What's interesting, though, the government owns your identity. If you don't have a passport or a birth certificate or a driver's license, whatever, I don't know each country's dynamic, but like, if you don't have those things, you are not who you say you are.
No.
The government owns your identity. Now, we may not like that, but I just view that as that's just a truism. And you know, one of the things Ripple has tried to do is we're pragmatic. Even though my philosophical view on something may be over here, to build a business and to drive the success of the XRP ecosystem, sometimes you just have to be pragmatic about the world. Even though I love the idea of blockchain-based identity as a utility for blockchains, you have to get who.
So they already know that you're going to need a digital ID, and they're going to blame the rise of AI for everyone to have a digital ID. But what about DNA? Could DNA possibly be the mark of the beast? And would it be tied to the XRP ledger only? I think it's going to be tied not only to the XRP ledger, but these other utility networks as well. They called XRP a scam. Now it's settling pharmacy payments in the US. Well, Logistics just launched a live XRP payment program, bringing crypto utility straight into healthcare. Now, when we look at this, healthcare is on there, tied to digital identity. We already have a lot of healthcare projects building out on the XRP ledger. We have XRP Healthcare, and we also have other health companies building on the XRP ledger as well. like Logistics. There's a few others. I know some of them are older, and I haven't really seen updates come from them over time, but I'm sure they're still building out in the background. But let's get back to a central bank digital currency. Everybody thinks the United States is safe because we're going to go down the road of a stable coin. But a stable coin and a CBDC are the same thing. The only thing different about them is who issues it. If the Fed issues a central bank digital currency, it's just a stable coin issued by the central bank. If Ripple issues a stable coin, it's called a stable coin because it's issued by a private company instead of a CBDC.
Right.
But some people don't agree with that. So Whitney Webb actually broke down what a CBDC is. Take a listen.
The way they tried to get people to onboard to the CBD system was by essentially cutting off the vast majority of the cash in circulation in Nigeria. And so despite the fact that they created these conditions to coerce people into using the CBDC, the populace resists. And that suggests that the idea of CBDCs being a tool for financial inclusion, the public doesn't seem to believe that, right? In Nigeria, these people that ostensibly suffer from this identity gap, that suffer from financial exclusion, don't want the financial inclusion that they're being offered by the CBDC. They don't see any real benefit. They see it as a tool of the state. In the state in Nigeria and in other African countries where these sort of systems are being rolled out, the governments have abused these systems to go after journalists or other people and violate human rights and all sorts of things. So it's not a tool for increased human rights. It's not a tool for increased inclusion. It's inherently exclusionary, and it's a surveillance tool. So if Nigeria's tactic of, drastically reducing the amount of cash in circulation didn't work, then I think it's quite clear that the way to force onboarding of a CBDC is going to be some sort of crisis, some sort of event where people will be made an offer they can't refuse, essentially.
I think what it's going to take is have an incentive. In other words, if you have cash and you go over to the central bank digital currency, maybe you get 10 cents on every dollar that you're bringing over to the digital system or converting into central bank digital currency. But Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD, seems to function like a CBDC, as it's essentially a tokenized form of the US dollar, a liability of the Federal Reserve. As a digital version of the dollar on the XRP ledger, RLUSD could be serving the role of a CBDC without you even knowing it.
Right.
And Mr. Mann said this: a stablecoin provider such as Ripple, who has reserves at a central bank, is considered a synthetic CBDC, SCBDC. RLUSD is automatically a synthetic CBDC. In contrast, a CBDC is directly issued by a central bank and represents a digital form of the country's fiat currency. Now, here's my thoughts on that. And I've talked about this in multiple videos in the past. The ECB and the BIS talked about parallel systems multiple times over the years. And when it comes to a parallel system, I think it's going to start as 3 parallel systems. So you have the cash system, which will still be with us for a period of time. That's your opt-out from a stablecoin or central bank digital currency. Then there's going to be the CBDC system or the stablecoin system, because they're one and the same, in my opinion, because there's no real difference there. Even RLUSD can be clawed back on the XRP ledger. XRP, however, cannot be clawed back at all. Then I think there's going to be the crypto system. People that bought certain cryptocurrencies, utility-driven cryptocurrencies, maybe they can transact outside of the central bank digital currency system, because rich people, they're not going to run on this system. They're not going to have their transactions tracked and traced, things like that. So if you enrich yourself first, you could break away from the CBDC system, in my opinion. So now the big question is this: Is DNA protocol the beginning of the beast system? Is putting your DNA on the blockchain actually you signing up for the beast system? I know it sounds totally crazy, but some people are actually saying that the pivot is already taking place. In other words, there's no longer going to be the chip in the hand like we were talking about in previous videos. And
Let me just say this, Rich, you did a phenomenal job on that video. I give you just a phenomenal blessing to you and your channel there, the Common Sense Crypto. And I know it takes a lot to do those types of videos, so I really thank you for sharing that with us. Like I said, if you guys don't know who the Common Sense Crypto is or the Common Sense Crypto channel, I really encourage you to do that. And as I said at the beginning, is this the mark of the beast? Nobody knows yet. Could it be headed to the mark of the beast? Absolutely. If they start tying your DNA to buying and selling, and you need a mark or a chip or something in your right hand or your forehead, absolutely. But as I said, just like we're in the transfer of wealth, can this benefit you and your family? I mean, if you bought Bitcoin 5 years ago at 50 cents and now it's at 125,000, I mean, would that have benefited your family? Could you fund your ministry? Could you do things with it? Absolutely, you could have. Is that the mark of the beast? Then no. Can it be in the future? Very well could be. But we need to be able to use our wisdom during this period prophetically that we're in. That's why I encourage every single one of you to do your own research, find out about these things, find out how it's going to affect you and your family. Please do that. Please do that. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I hope this video helped you. Like I said, please go to his channel, subscribe, share it, and also do that with ours. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you next time right here, same place, same time, in Jesus' name. Amen.